The Talari Empire had ruled for thousands of years across the stars. Their cities floated in the skies of gas giants, and their ships cut through space like blades of light. Every world knew the name Talari, and every ruler respected their power. But even great empires have quiet moments. In one of the high towers of Talarian Prime, Princess Alira stood near a crystal window. She watched ships pass through the sky. Her long silver robes flowed gently behind her. Her pale green eyes looked calm, but deep inside, her heart felt heavy. Alira was the only daughter of Emperor Valkath. He was strong, proud, and respected. By all, she had just reached her season of choice, the age when royal suitors from across the galaxy came to seek her hand. It was more than tradition, it was how alliances were built, how peace was promised, and how the Empire's power stayed strong. But no one truly wanted Alira. The first suitor came from the Zorian Alliance. He was tall, scaled, and wore heavy gold armor. He looked at Alira, bowed, and then said, "She seems too soft. I will return later." The second suitor was a prince of the Voran fleet. He looked into her eyes once, then turned to the emperor and whispered, "She does not speak like a queen." The third suitor, a noble from the Canary Belt, laughed out loud and said, "I need someone with fire. This one is like still water." One by one, the suitors came and went. Some stayed for a day. Some only stayed for a few minutes. None stayed long enough to know her. Alira never complained. She greeted each visitor with kindness. She wore the traditional robes, sat with perfect posture, and answered their questions with quiet grace. But none of them saw her. They only saw what they wanted her to be. "You must speak louder," her tutor said. "Smile less," her handlers told her. "Don't look so dreamy," the head advisor warned. But Alira was not made for pretending. She liked to read poems from old Earth. She painted the moons at night with soft colors. She walked barefoot in the gardens when no one was looking. And she liked silence, not shouting. The people around her called her the Quiet Star. Some meant it kindly, others did not. The emperor sat on his throne and listened to more complaints from the council. "Your daughter is not ready. Has no fire. No suitor has chosen her." The emperor looked tired. His empire needed strong bonds, and his daughter was not bringing them. Behind his stern face, he wondered if maybe his brother's son, bold and charming, would be a better. Alira heard the whispers. Even the palace walls could not hide them. But she said nothing. Every night, she sat under the blue-leafed tree in the garden and whispered to herself, "Maybe one day someone will see me." Far away, on a small blue world called Earth, a message arrived. It was not meant to bring anyone. It was only a diplomatic notice sent across allied systems. It said, "The Talari princess is open for suitors. Any with noble standing may attend the season." No one expected a reply from Earth. Humans were still new to galactic politics. Most aliens thought they were weak, simple, and too emotional. They were invited only out of politeness. But someone did read it. His name was Noah. He was not a prince. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He had a small ship, a clean suit, and a curious heart. When he read the message, he paused at the audio line that included the princess's voice. It was a short greeting, only a few seconds long. "I welcome you to Talarian," she had said. "May your journey be safe, and may peace follow you." There was a quiet sadness in her voice. Not despair, but something soft and honest. Something that stayed with him. Noah didn't know why, but he decided to go. His friends laughed. "You, a suitor?" He smiled, "Just going to say hello." So he packed his best shirt, brought a small gift of wild earth flowers, and flew across the stars. Back on Talarian Prime, the final days of the season began. The great hall was full of alien nobles. Banners of every kind flew above. The emperor looked over the gathering with a heavy sigh. "No match," he said softly. Then a strange ship entered orbit. It was small, old, and painted in earthy colors. The guards sent alerts. The court whispered, "A human?" Someone said, "This must be a mistake." But Noah walked down the ramp calmly. He was not tall, not glowing, not wearing any strange armor. He simply carried a small box in his hands and a kind smile on his face. He bowed before the court and said, "Thank you for letting me come. My name is Noah." The hall laughed. Even the emperor raised a brow. "What title do you hold?" Noble asked. "None," Noah said. "I'm just here." They laughed harder. Alira sat at the end of the hall. She was dressed in silver and blue. Her hair was braided like falling streams. When her eyes met his, she didn't see a fool. She saw someone different. Noah bowed before her, gently placed the box near her feet, and stepped back. She opened it and found soft red flowers inside. "They're from my home," he said. "It's simple, but they survive storms." Alira smiled. For the first time in weeks, she felt seen. The great hall stayed quiet for a moment after Noah gave his flowers. No one knew what to say. Most suitors had brought rare crystals, shining weapons, or strong gifts from their empires. But this human brought simple red flowers and soft words. One noble finally whispered, "This is a joke." Another said louder, "He doesn't even wear armor." But Alira wasn't laughing. Her fingers touched the petals gently. She had never seen flowers like these before. They were small, but full of color and warmth. Unlike the cold, perfect gifts from others, this felt real. Noah didn't look around for praise. He only looked at Alira, then stepped back quietly. "Thank you for letting me speak," he said. The emperor narrowed his eyes. He had seen many proud suitors come and go. This one seemed different, not because of what he offered, but because of what he didn't try to offer. "You are human," the emperor said. "Why did you come here?" Noah looked up and answered, "I heard the princess's message, her voice. It felt honest. It stayed with me. I didn't come to win anything. I just wanted to meet the person behind that voice." Some aliens in the hall rolled their eyes. "So you came all this way? For a voice?" One laughed. "Yes," Noah replied without shame. "Sometimes voices carry truth when words do not." Lyra looked at him again. Her heart beat a little faster. Wasn't used to being spoken to like that, not as a title, but as a person. After the gathering ended, most suitors returned to their guest chambers, but Alira asked that Noah be allowed to walk in the royal garden. The advisors protested. "He is unranked." "He's not worthy," one said. "He brought no alliance with him," said another. But the emperor raised his hand. "Let him walk." Lyra waited by the blue-leafed tree. It was her favorite place, quiet and hidden from the palace's eyes. When Noah arrived, he looked around and smiled. "This place suits you," he said softly. "You think so?" she asked. "It's peaceful, honest. Like you." Alira blinked. "You don't even know me." "I'd like to," Noah said, "if that's all right." They walked slowly, side by side. No guards, no crowds, no titles between them. They talked about small things. Noah told her about Earth, how the rain smelled, how the oceans danced. Under the sun, how birds sang in the morning. Alira listened with wonder. She had read about Earth, but never heard someone speak of it with such care. She told him about the palace, the endless lessons, the heavy silence in her life. "Does anyone see you?" Noah asked gently. Alira stopped. She looked at the sky. "Sometimes," she said, "but most just see the crown." "I didn't see a crown," Noah said. "I saw someone standing alone when she shouldn't have to be." Alira smiled for real this time. As days passed, Noah stayed on Telerian. He didn't ask for more meetings, didn't push himself into royal events. He simply walked the gardens, read in the library, and helped the palace staff whenever he could. He was kind to everyone, no matter their rank. The workers liked him, the guards respected him, even the high cook, a grumpy alien with 4 arms, smiled when Noah helped carry. Supplies. Alira found herself looking forward to their quiet walks. She laughed more. She started painting again. Her eyes shone brighter. The change didn't go unnoticed. The princess is acting. "Lighter," one advisor whispered. "She's smiling more," another said, but not everyone was pleased. Zelen, a powerful cousin of the emperor, watched from afar. He had hoped to marry Alira and become heir to the throne. But now the princess seemed to care about a human with no title. Xelan grew angry. This cannot be allowed, he hissed. He spoke to the emperor's top advisor, who had always believed humans were weak. We must remove him, Zelan said. Before he weakens the empire. The advisor nodded. Leave it to me. The next morning, as Noah walked to the garden, he was stopped by guards. You're being questioned, one said. Questioned? Noah asked. About what? Spying, the guard replied. They brought him to a cold chamber. The council sat in a circle. The emperor was there, silent. Alira had not been told. You entered our palace under false hope, the advisor said. Some believe you are here to gather secrets. I'm not, Noah said calmly. I only came to meet her. Convenient, Zelan said from the side. You wander freely. You speak to the princess. And you bring no proof of honor. I never claim to be more than I am, Noah answered. But if you believe I've done wrong, I'll leave. Alira heard the news from a servant. Rushed to the chamber and pushed open the doors. Stop, she shouted. The room fell silent. She walked straight to Noah and stood beside him. He is no spy, she said. He's the only one who never lied to me. The emperor stared at his daughter. This was the first time she had raised her voice in public. You trust him? The emperor asked. With my heart, she said softly. Zealand's face turned cold. He cannot be allowed to remain. It brings no benefit to the empire. Then maybe the empire needs to remember what kindness looks like, Lyra replied. The room shook with whispers. The emperor stood slowly. This matter is not over, but for now, the human may stay. It's closely watched. Alira nodded. That's all I ask. She led Noah out of the chamber, her hand lightly touching his arm. Are you all right? She asked. Yes, he said. But why did you do that? 'Cause she whispered. You saw me when no one else did. After the council meeting, Noah stayed inside his room for a while. Guards were posted outside, but they were not cruel. Still, it was clear that many in the palace no longer trusted him. He understood. He was a stranger from a quiet world, and he had walked into a place filled with politics and secrets. But he was not afraid. Alira came to visit him that evening. She brought a tray of warm food and 2 cups of spiced tea. No guards stopped her, though some followed at a distance. You shouldn't be here, Noah said gently as she entered. Then tell me to leave, she replied. He didn't say a word. Instead, he moved aside and let her sit. They shared the meal in silence for a while. Then Alira looked at him and said, I didn't know you'd be blamed. I'm different, he said with a small smile. That scares people sometimes. Shouldn't, she said. Noah leaned forward a little. Are you all right? It's not easy to speak against your court. Alira looked down. For most of my life, I was told to stay quiet, to smile, to sit still. But now, I want to do more than just sit and do, Noah said. You have a voice worth hearing. Alira nodded. She looked into his eyes and felt something calm inside, her like a river finally finding its path. Days passed, and a quiet bond grew between them. Alira visited often, not in secret, but openly. She read to him from her favorite poems, told her about his mother's garden back on Earth. They laughed together, shared little jokes, and slowly they began to trust each other. Servants began whispering. She looks happy. Her eyes shined again. Some nobles didn't like it. They said it was dangerous. A princess couldn't show such closeness to a common outsider. Prince Zealand grew even more angry. He watched as his influence slipped away. He had always thought Alira would follow the plan, marry for politics, stay quiet, and let others rule. But now she was changing, and Noah was the reason. Xelan began spreading rumors. He told some nobles that Noah had come to steal secrets. Others were told that the human was here to control the princess's mind soon. One of the emperor's old advisors came to him and said, Your daughter's name is being whispered in the wrong way. This human brings danger. The emperor stayed. Silent, deep inside, he was torn. He had seen the change in his daughter. She smiled now. She walked taller. She even offered ideas in council meetings, something she had never done before. But still, he had to think of the empire. Finally, The emperor made a decision. He called for Noah and Alira to meet him in the royal hall. The hall was full again advisors, nobles, guards, and even Zelon, who stood proudly by the side. When Alira and Noah entered, the hall fell silent. The emperor stood and spoke clearly. You have formed a connection. Some see this as a danger to our traditions. Alira stepped forward. He has brought no harm. Perhaps, the emperor replied, but the court needs clarity. So I asked this human, why have you stayed? Noah looked up, his voice calm, because I found something here I didn't expect. Not gold, not titles, just someone real. Someone worth knowing. Few laughed quietly, but most listened. The emperor raised a hand. Do you wish to claim the princess as your bride? Noah looked at Alira, then back at the emperor. Only if she wants that. I don't want to claim her. I only want to walk beside her, if she'll let me. A soft murmur moved through the crowd. Alira spoke, her voice stronger than before. I do not need him to prove himself to me. Already has. In a palace full of voices, he was the only one who listened. Zalen stepped forward. This cannot continue. She is royal. He is no one. Noah looked at him, not with anger, but with peace. Then let me prove I'm someone. The emperor raised an eyebrow. How? By facing the right of stars. Noah said. A loud gasp spread through the room. The rite of stars was an old tradition, used only in rare times. It was not a test of battle or blood, it was a challenge of heart, truth, and courage. Those who passed it were seen as worthy of standing beside a royal. It was ancient and dangerous. The emperor spoke slowly. Do you know what the rite requires? Yes, Noah said. And I accept. Alira tried to stop him. You don't have to do this. I want to, he said gently. Not for the crown, for you. Alira's heart ached with both fear and love. The next morning, the rite began. Noah stood in the circle of light, deep inside the crystal chamber. Around him were floating spheres filled with energy, each one tied to memory, fear, and truth. The test was simple. Step through each sphere, face the vision inside, speak no lies. Many had failed before. The first sphere showed Noah a moment from his childhood when he lost his father in a storm. He stepped forward, touched the light, and whispered, I was afraid. I still am, but I go on. The second sphere showed him standing alone on earth, laughed at by others for his strange dreams. I never fit in, he said, but I never stopped caring. The third sphere showed him walking away from comfort, to fly toward a voice in space. I didn't know what I'd find, he said, but I found someone worth walking with. As he passed through the final sphere, the light faded. He stood, trembling but unbroken. The emperor, watching through the viewing crystal, was quiet for a long time. Then he turned to the court. He has passed, the emperor said. Exelon clenched his fists, but could say nothing. Alira rushed to Noah, tears in her eyes. You didn't have to prove anything. Noah smiled. Maybe not. But I wanted your world to hear me the way I heard you. Noah's success in the Rite of Stars shook the entire Talari court. Never before had a human stood inside that sacred place and come out whole. The crystal spheres had shown his memories, fears, and deepest truths, and he faced all of them without lies or pride. The emperor sat quietly on his throne as whispers moved through the room, like wind through dry leaves. He passed. A human passed. He didn't even tremble. Alira stood beside Noah, her eyes full of quiet pride and soft relief. She had feared the rite might break him more worse, that the court would still find a way to reject him, even if he passed. But now the ancient rules were clear. The court could not question his truth anymore. The emperor finally rose and looked at Noah. You are not like the others, he said. You did not come with ships or armies. You did not demand anything. You simply showed your heart. And in doing so, you reminded us of something we had forgotten. Noah bowed his head slightly. Thank you. But I didn't come here to remind anyone of anything. I only came for her. He looked at Alira, and their eyes met like stars crossing in the night sky. Some in the court clapped softly. Others remained quiet. Prince Zealand, however, was silent with rage. Everything he had planned was falling apart. He had already begun preparing for the crown, already dreamed of controlling the empire through marriage. But now, the soft-spoken princess and the quiet humans stood in the way. Exelan stepped forward. Passing a test of truth does not make him one of us, he said coldly, and love alone cannot rule an empire. The emperor turned to him. And what have you proven, Zealand? You came with power, but no heart. The words hit hard. Zealand did not respond. The emperor spoke again, this time to the court.
We will
give this time. No decisions will be rushed. Let them walk this path without pressure. Alira nodded. Thank you, father. Later that night, Alira and Noah walked once again in the garden. This time they didn't speak much. The stars above were bright, and the wind carried the soft smell of night flowers. After a while, Alira spoke. Do you ever miss your world? Every day, Noah said.
Right.
But I've never belonged anywhere the way I do when I'm beside you. Alira felt a warmth rise in her chest. It wasn't like the stories of love in the books. It was slower, deeper, and more real. I don't know what happens next, she said. Then we find out together, Noah replied. But not everyone wanted that future to happen. Exelan was not done. In secret, he gathered those who still believed in strength over softness. Some nobles, some advisors, and even a few commanders. He promised them that Alira's rule would weaken the empire, and a human by her side would be the final insult. We must act before her name is sealed as heir, Zealand said. Before the empire falls into foolish hands, the small group planned to force the emperor to choose Zealand. They would stage a moment of weakness in the empire enough to scare the council into fearing the future. Then Zealand would step forward as the only one ready to lead. One night, a distant communication array was sabotaged. Ships and nearby systems were told that Talarian was under threat. Panic began to grow. Traders were delayed and fleets were placed. On alert, in the court, council members brought reports to the emperor. This could grow into war. We need stronger leadership. Your daughter's not ready for a crisis. The emperor listened, but said nothing. It started to wonder. If there was truth in the warnings or if something else was moving behind the scenes, Alira noticed it too. Someone is trying to scare the court, she told Noah. Someone who wants to take your place, he said. Double quotes XEL, N. Double quotes Noah nodded. Then we must find proof. Together, they started asking questions. They spoke to ship captains, engineers, and even quiet messengers in the palace. Most didn't know anything. But one day, a palace technician, nervous and shaking, came to Noah in secret. I saw a message, she whispered. It was sent from Zealand's wing, encrypted, but it matched the timing of the system error. Can you show it to the emperor? Noah asked. The technician shook her head. They'll silence me. Then I will, Noah said. Stand for you. Lyra and Noah brought the evidence to the emperor. They didn't accuse. They simply shared what was found and asked that it be looked at. The emperor examined the data, and he called for the security master. The encryption was confirmed. It had come from Zealand's wing. The emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he called a meeting in the royal court. Exelan stood tall, thinking this was his moment to strike. But when he entered the hall, he saw the emperor holding the evidence. You used fear to push your claim, the emperor said. You endangered peace. I did what I had to for the empire, Zealand shouted. No, the emperor said, voice sharp. You did it for yourself. Zealand was stripped of his titles. He was not imprisoned, but exiled. The court watched in silence as the proud prince walked out, his head lowered. Alira looked around. This time she didn't feel small or forgotten. The court finally saw her, not just as a quiet girl, but as a leader who stood for truth, not fear, and by her side, a human who chose her heart over everything else. After Prince Zealand's exile, the mood in the Talari court began to shift. Many nobles who had once doubted Alira now looked at her with new eyes. They had seen her protect a guest, speak with strength, and bring truth into the open. The quiet Princess had become something more, someone worthy of being called future queen. But with change came uncertainty. The court still whispered about the human. Some nobles still asked, can he truly stand beside her? Others watched with narrowed eyes, not out of hate but fear. A human had never been this close to the throne. One morning, Alira walked into the council chamber alone. Her steps were steady. The long hall, filled with advisors and rulers, became silent as she raised her voice. The season of choosing has ended, she said. I did not choose from the strongest or the richest. One chose from the honest. Some advisors leaned forward, surprised. Others whispered among themselves. Alira continued. Noah of Earth is the only one who saw mean, not the crown, not the power, just me. I do not ask for approval. I speak what is already true. Then she turned to the emperor. Father, I do not bring you a prince. I bring you a partner. The emperor looked into his daughter's eyes, and then at the court. Let the stars witness this moment, he said. News of her decision spread quickly across the empire. Some worlds celebrated. Others questioned. Many had never heard of Noah before, and even more couldn't believe that a human would stand beside a royal. On Earth, messages from diplomats and curious citizens poured in. Many were shocked, some proud, others nervous. Noah, however, remained calm. He never asked for fame or power, continued helping around the palace, speaking with servants and listening to people's stories. He often sat with the young trainees in the palace library, sharing simple lessons from his home. One evening, Lyra found him sitting on the edge of a high garden wall, looking at the twin moons above. Are you thinking about Earth? Asked. Yes, he said. And also about here. Do you miss it? I miss my mother's garden, he smiled. But being here with you, it feels like where I'm meant to be. Alira sat beside him. They will still question us. Let them, Noah said. Truth doesn't need to be loud to be real. Soon, the empire prepared for the official ceremony where Alira would be named heir and Noah would stand beside her as her chosen. It was to be held in the grand starlight chamber, a place only used once every century. Robes were made, songs were written, and guests from across the galaxy arrived. Fleets flew in formation over Tellurian Prime and Light. Shows lit the sky, but deep within the shadows. Not everyone had accepted peace. A small group of Zealand's old supporters had gone into hiding. They called themselves the True Flame. They believed a human standing with a royal was a disgrace. They feared a soft future, one that would weaken the Empire's grip. On the night before the ceremony, they made their move. A stolen ship slipped into the palace's sky ring. Inside were saboteurs trained in silent war. Their goal was simple: disrupt the ceremony, frighten the court, and force the emperor to reconsider. But what they didn't expect was Noah. He had gone out late, as he often did, to check the garden lights one last time before the big day. He saw shadows moving where they shouldn't. Then he heard a soft click, like a weapon being loaded. Noah didn't have a weapon. He didn't have armor. But he had his voice, his eyes, and his courage. He stepped into their path. Stop, he said. The saboteurs froze. They hadn't expected anyone. You don't have to do this, he continued. You're not protecting the Empire. You're breaking it. One of them raised a weapon. Move or fall. Noah raised his hands. I won't fight you. I won't move either. Alira had been nearby, speaking with a guest in the observatory. When she heard the alert, she ran toward the signal. Guards followed close behind. When she saw Noah standing alone in front of the attackers, her heart stopped. But she didn't scream or cry. She stood beside him. This is not courage, she told the intruders. This is fear, hiding in action. Guards surrounded them. Saboteurs hesitated, then dropped their weapons. They had expected silence, not strength. They had expected fear, not calm. The Emperor arrived moments later, when he saw his daughter and the human standing in front. Of the danger together, he knew the truth. This was no ordinary bond. It was trust. It was unity. It was the heart of a new future. The saboteurs were taken away. The ceremony was delayed by only 1 hour, when the doors of the Starlight Chamber finally opened. The people saw something they had never seen before. Princess in a glowing silver robe, walking side by side with a human dressed in a simple dark suit holding her hand. The stars above them reflected in their eyes, and as they stood before the Empire, there were no long speeches. Noah simply said, "Thank you for letting me see her." And Alira said, "Thank you for letting me be seen." The Starlight Chamber shimmered like a dream. Above the silver floor, lights from galaxies far away passed through the dome, painting soft colors across the walls. Every ruler, noble, and guest stood in silence as Princess Alira and Noah walked to the center platform. This was the moment the entire Talari Empire had been waiting for. Alira's silver robe glowed gently with threads of light sewn by hand. Her crown, shaped like a falling star, rested gently on her head. She walked slowly, but without fear. Beside her, Noah moved with quiet confidence. He wore a suit made by Talari tailors, simple yet respectful. He looked ahead, not to the throne, but to her, when they reached the center. The Emperor stood from his seat at the highest point of the chamber. "Today," he said, "we honor the one who will lead after me. Not because of birth alone, not because of war or fear, but because she carries the strength of stillness, the power of peace, and the wisdom to listen." He turned to Alira. "Daughter, do you accept the light of the Empire?" Alira looked up. Her voice was calm and strong. "Yes, and I will guide it not with loudness, but with care." The Emperor nodded. He then looked at Noah. "And you," he said, "have walked a path none expected. You passed trials of heart, not force, stood not for gain, but for truth. You accept the bond with my daughter not as prince, but as partner?" Noah smiled softly. "Yes, I ask for nothing but the right to walk beside her." The Emperor raised his hand and a warm light filled the room. A symbol of the crown appeared above Alira's head, glowing with the power of the ancestors. Noah stepped back respectfully as the energy touched her. It was the final sign. Alira was now the heir. When the ceremony ended, people clapped not just out of duty, but with real feeling. Many had been unsure before, but seeing them together, so steady and honest, melted their doubts. Some guests from far systems bowed, others sent messages of respect. Even the ambassadors from the old empires, who rarely gave praise, sent soft words. Outside, the skies of Talarian Prime lit up with fireworks and bright trails. Music played across every city. People sang the name of their new princess not because they were told to, because they believed in her. That night, in a small room far from the lights and songs, Alira sat with Noah. They had changed out of their formal clothes and wore simple robes. A small lamp glowed beside them. Alira rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you think they'll truly accept this?" "Some already have," Noah said. "The rest will follow or they won't. Either way, I'm here." She closed her eyes and smiled. "I never imagined this." "Me neither," he said. "I heard your voice in that message. I didn't know what I'd find." "What did you find?" "Someone braver than anyone else in that hall." Alira laughed softly. "You're the one who stood in front of a weapon with no armor?" "And you stood beside me," he replied. "We do that for each other now." Time passed, and Alira took her place as the future ruler. She began leading small meetings, making choices that were once only made by old voices. She changed the way questions were asked. She gave space to young minds, to ideas that didn't come from war or wealth. And Noah remained by her side not as a ruler, not as a voice of command, but as her listener, her support, and her light in quiet hours. Together, they visited outer worlds, helped rebuild cities hurt by storms, and created learning centers for mixed-species students. For the first time, human ideas were welcomed into the Empire, because of power, but because of trust. Some leaders from other star systems asked, "What made this human different?" Lyra always answered, "He never tried to take anything. He only offered kindness, and stayed when I had nothing to give." And when others asked Noah what made the princess so special, he said, "She led with gentleness in a world that praised force. She saw strength in stillness. She gave others the courage to be real." On the second orbit day after their union, a celebration was held again in the garden where they had first walked together. It was smaller, just close friends, palace staff, and young students from across the empire. Lyra wore a simple blue dress. Noah wore the same suit from the first day he arrived. As the sun dipped behind the floating towers, the stars came out one by one. Lyra and Noah stood under the blue-leafed tree. "This place never changed," he said. "But we did," she replied. He looked at her. "Thank you for letting me stay. Thank you for coming forward when everyone else walked away." They stood in silence, letting the soft wind move through their hair. Around them, laughter and music played. And above them, the stars glowed, watching a quiet princess and a gentle human who proved that sometimes the softest voice can change an empire.